my phone, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Begin with the routine business. The Open Meetings Act is posted on the northwest wall as always. Want to review that. And Lisa, would you go ahead and call the roll?
Dustin?
Yep.
Heather? Here. Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Here.
All present and accounted for. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Move on to the consent agenda. As always, you can approve all items in the consent agenda with one motion, or you can consider them separately as needed.
Any issue with the claims, Dustin?
What's that?
Any issue with the claims or anything? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call roll.
Heather?
Here, or yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously, and Heather is still present.
Still present. I'll let you know if I'm not.
Okay, moving on. I apologize for my voice. I'm on the downhill side of the crud that about everybody in town has probably experienced, but throat's still a little scratchy. Don't have much on the mayor's report. I did give each councilman a copy of an article that was in the magazine the League of Municipalities puts out. And when I read it, I just thought it was a good article. It's about overpromising and what we can do as elected officials. And I don't think any of you necessarily overpromise, but it just brings up some good points about how cities like ours, like cities that it mentioned, most cities are over 100 years old, and so there are things that have built up over time, infrastructure issues that maybe aren't, you can't fix them all at once. Those problems have accumulated over long periods of times, and that's, I think we see that with streets, other infrastructure, and so anyway, that was just one of the things in there. It talks about acts of God and how the world is changing, but I thought it was a good read, so I just made a copy of it if you haven't seen it already. With that, move on to the mayor's appointments, and we just have the annual appointments today. These are for the Dr. Kenny Wasman for the municipal physician, Michael Scholes for our city attorney, Lisa Schrodel as the city administrator, clerk treasurer, Brad Miller, water sewer superintendent, Jay Daigle, street foreman, Bruce Papstein as our KBR solid waste rep, and West Plains Bank, Homestead Bank, Union Bank, and Nebraska Public Agency Investment Fund as our bank depositories, and the Ainsworth Star Journal and KBRB radio station as our publication. I think those are all the same as last year. I don't recommend any changes, and so I'm not aware of any issues or concerns with any of those.
Do we need to do them individually or all at once?
That's a good question.
I think it's up to you. I think if you're okay with everybody, you can probably do it in one, and if you're okay with everybody, then
I'll make a motion to approve the annual appointments of the terms of, recommended by the mayor, Dr. Kenny Wasman, municipality physician, Michael Scholes, City Attorney Lisa Schroeder, City Administrator Clerk Treasurer Brad Miller, Water Sewer Superintendent Jade Ingalls, Street Foreman Bruce Papstein, KBR Solid Waste, West Plains Bank, Homestead Bank, Union Bank, Nebraska Public Agency Investment Trust, Bank Depositories, Angel Star Journal, KVRB Radio Station for publications.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
That winded me.
Go ahead and call roll.
Brad,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Dustin,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. All right. We do have a relatively light agenda tonight, so we'll have plenty of time to discuss whatever we want to. No public hearings, no old business, so that takes us on to the regular agenda. And first item is to discuss and consider the community fishing pond. Danny has asked to come and visit with us about that, so what do you got, Danny?
Yeah, well, thank you for putting me on the agenda. Basically, just to give you an update of the progress of what's been going on. I guess I always start with, I have to eat crow, okay?
I sure like when he says that. It's nice to hear.
Especially to that man, but when he came to the county commissioners about putting a fish pond out east of the hospital, I had really serious reservations about that thing ever holding water. You know, knowing what our subsoil is. And yet, again, I have to eat crow because it holds water really well. I'm amazed that it does. And so, with that being said, I've decided I'm not gonna run for county commissioner again. I've served, this will be 8 years, and I thought this would be a project. I've always been interested in fishing and hunting and stuff and working with kids. And so sort of took it upon myself, appointed myself as the ramrod to get it done. There's a couple reasons. One is for the good of the community, but secondly, as a county commissioner, last summer had several complaints, and rightfully so, about, well, when are you gonna finish it? You know, you got water in it now, but it's growing, you know, to weeds and stuff, and you can't get in there to fish because of the weeds and whatever. And so if we try to complete the project, then we shouldn't have those issues either. And so, give you an idea, we've already started at phase 2, and I don't know if you want to just pass that around, but we've sold quite a few trees. Probably the highlights of the whole thing is to put it'll be over a 1/4 mile walking path around it. Greg's done a nice job. You've got the gravel walkway all the way around it, and we put a 4-foot wide sidewalk around it, and we'll follow the contour of the pond. I've got bender board type stuff, and we can bend it like for patios and stuff, so we can follow the curve, and we'll lay it right on top of the old gravel walkway.
So this will all be concrete.
That'll be all concrete. The other exciting thing is on the south side of it, I got the contract today in the mail from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission, the Cowboy Trail. We can hook into the Cowboy Trail. We'll only have to pour about 100 feet of concrete to latch into there. That'll be a 25-year lease agreement. There's no charge to that, and if the other 2 commissioners go along with us on Tuesday, we'll have that. That'll be signed and done. The other exciting news, yesterday, Game and Parks Commission worked with Zach out of Valentine. At their fisheries meeting here last week, they agreed to both spring and fall put 250 to 300 trout in the spring and also in the fall. And the only thing different there is the trout are going to be 12 to 14 inches long. That'll be a nice size.
So is that catchable right away then? Is that the size?
Oh, yeah, 14-inch rainbow trout. I mean,
that'll be nice, so they can fish both spring and fall, and I tried to sell him on the idea, and he bought into it, you know, the fall stocking would be great because they'll live longer. And you put them in September, October, and they'll go all the way till through June. When you put them in the spring, they may survive, I don't know. 14 feet of water with the well, you know, to pump cold water in it, they may survive through the summer, I don't know.
We didn't have a hot summer, but people were catching trout this fall after being.
So there was some.
So it wasn't a hot summer and
Yeah.
but they did survive their first summer in there anyway, so.
Yeah. And we're gonna, we'll plant 18 trees, and they'll be 7 footers or so, and that's how many, the different people that have bought trees at $175 a tree. And we've also got there'll be 4 park benches on it, and they will be connected to the cement walkway. We'll pour walkouts, so if there's people with wheelchairs hard to walk, they can go on the sidewalk, but then they can also go to the park bench without going on the gravel or grass. It'll all be connected. And then the other part of the project is to build a picnic shelter, which would sit right here just to the west of the fishing pier, or to the south, a 24 by 32 foot picnic shelter. And just to give you an idea of what has happened so far, money-wise, the total project including the picnic shelter, I've got it about $38,000. That does not include labor, but all the labor for this project is going to be donated. I've got the road department boys on standby for pouring concrete and stuff, so there won't be any labor involved. That will all be donated. And I've also got a couple, 2-3 high school age boys already have volunteered through their Boy Scout program, are willing to help. And we're not going to pour all that concrete in one day. We're going to pour 200 feet at a time, which is about 9 yards, 1 truckload. So we hope to pour in the morning, late afternoon, pull the forms, move them ahead. That bender board is reusable, and so we'll just, you know, and then the next day, if the weather's permitting and it's not too soft, we can get the truck and pour about 200 feet at a time. So that's going to take us probably a couple weeks to get the sidewalk poured around it. But we have raised to date right at $22,000 out of the $38,000. Brown County Foundation has donated $5,000. Brown County Commissioners have put $5,000 toward the project. And then we had the fundraiser, that's what the poster is. We sold all the trees, and we've had benches purchased. The park benches are industrial type. They're that plastic coated, powder coated from Barco, and they were about $1,000 a piece. And we had, we got 3 out of the 4 sold. And what we'll do there is we will put a plaque on the benches, you know, donated by such and such. The trees will have the same thing. There'll be permanent placards made and with the name of the people that have donated for the trees, and that'll be stuck by each tree. So we'll give some recognition to the people that have donated large sums. And I don't know, Greg, is there anything you want to add?
I've got there's a Lions Club meeting Monday. If you remember back in phase 1, it was the Lions Club that applied to the ABC as the organization for the application for the project. So the Lions Club meets Monday. I just want to make sure they're still on board with me applying to the ABC on behalf of the Lions Club. So you might expect at your February meeting to see a potential agenda item on there. If I get that blessing on Monday, I'll fill out an application to ABC, and when they can meet, Denny and I will most likely both go meet with them and try to get some funds from the ABC again to put toward the project. So it's been, as Denny mentioned, good response from partners again, and so foundations come back, the counties come back. And so the only other thing, thinking down the road, is potential for maybe a trash receptacle out there. I don't know, I'm hesitant on a dumpster because I don't want people throwing big things out into a dumpster just because it's out there.
I don't want them cleaning fish and
Right,
throwing
or
the
just,
dead
you know,
fish.
no, I know I can't take this out to the dump, I'll go throw it in a dumpster that's.
Maybe like what we have on Main Street.
Like a teddy,
those
just-
heavy ones they can't.
yeah,
somebody
something
can't
that-
steal or anything like that. It's a-
Just,
a heavy
I just
property
wanted you to
one.
kind of think about that, to maybe that if there's a way we might find something that we can put out there for trash, that then maybe the garbage truck maybe once a week or even every other week, depending on how much it gets used, could maybe empty that for us. We've talked a little bit about maybe trying to do some electrical
Yeah.
once we get to the picnic shelter, so I'll be on one of your councilmen to see what he's willing to do for us on that. We've got power service out there
Take
on
one for the team,
the
guys.
south end.
We already talked about it. Wow.
We've got power service out to the south end where we put the electric well. And so if we, there might be potential to run a line from that service, so we'll have to, that's, as part of, you talk about infrastructure and some things, but we don't want it to be real lit up all the time, but
No.
maybe one nice kind of yard light out there to, that'll, light the parking area and things, so.
And as far as the maintenance goes, if my health continues the way it has been, I plan to do the mowing and stuff for the next 2 years and get the trees started. The trees usually take 2 years, and I'll take the responsibility of getting the trees watered for the first 2 years and mow. I did seed last fall between the walking path now and down into the water's edge. And so there shouldn't be a lot of weeds this spring, because I've got 2-3 varieties of bluegrass, fescue, ryegrass, and I got a pretty decent stand. You can row it really well. And I fertilized it, and it'll be easy to mow, because I didn't get stuck with my tractor and the drill in there. So the
There was
ground was
one-
pretty firm.
There was one low spot over on the west end after the initial excavation was done. A lot of that material was piled on the west end, and as the county then removed that, there was one kind of low area. They've since, I don't know if you've been out there, the county has since gone out and kind of created a drain for all that, so that should let that area dry out.
So we don't have a mosquito hole, and Kenny Turpin, I give him credit for that. I talked to him about filling that hole in. He said, well, if we fill the hole in, the water's gotta go someplace, so we'll have a water hole someplace else. And he surveyed it and says, I think we can cut a nice drain and drain that, that was way better than my idea. And then I'll seed that early this spring. We'll seed that basically to brome grass, to cover it up. And then we do have a tentative approval for more trees from the Arbor Foundation and the Nebraska Forest Service. I found a program there that they would give somewhere between 10 and 15 shade trees, free to the communities, if not a private individual, but to the city or to whatever. And I'll throw that out to you guys too, that if you're ever looking for shade trees, that application period is in, what starts in June through July 1st. And then the trees, if you're approved, they'll come in September, October to plant them. And they're also 6 to 8 foot trees. And when I talked to them, they said, well, what varieties? And I said, you're the forestry, you tell us what will grow best here. In those conditions, we would plant them on the outside of the walkway, so there'll be trees on both sides of the walkway. Those 18 there are basically water-loving trees, river birch, swamp white oak, sycamores, and red maple. And the idea there was to get them to shade the water to help the fisheries some, so the sun doesn't hit it, but also to provide shade for the people that are fishing. And secondly, in a drought year, if the water level stays the same, those trees ought to basically irrigate themselves if we plant them, you know, within 2 foot of the water table. Their roots ought to be in the wet soil. And I've talked to the forestry department about the species of trees to plant there. Yeah, red maple, bald cypress, riverbird, some of these I've never heard of. American sycamore, Dawn redwood, and there's so just all kinds, you know, like that. But those are all ones that will grow in the wet areas. And so they'll be down closer to the water's edge. Got any questions? Just an update on what's going on, what's happening.
Well, I think it's a great deal. It's been a great project ever since it got started. I'm glad you guys were able to do that and having it so close to the city and on the edge. And I like your idea of having it attached to the Cowboy Trail. I think there's so many people that use that Cowboy Trail, and they can come in and walk around, walk back.
Yeah, and they got a bench to sit on now,
Yeah.
and I've already got the benches are here. I went ahead and ordered the benches because I was told by several people that had ordered before, if you wait till in the spring to order them, you probably won't get them till fall. They get back ordered, and so they're sitting in my garage assembled. And that's another, you know, I'm so naive at stuff like this. I thought, well, hell, four benches, they'll come in 4 packages. Well, and I got the data sheet, pellet weight almost 800 pounds. I'm thinking, ooh, how are we gonna unload 800 pounds off the back of a freight truck at my house? So I called Century Lumber. They were kind enough to use their forklift to unload it. Each bench weighs almost 200 pounds. They're heavy. And we can bolt them into the concrete so people won't run off, or kids throw them in the water. I've been told that. And the Cowboy Trail deal, I will have to give credit to the Brown County Foundation Board. They brought that up, and we got that done. So that worked out really well. But that was Brown County Foundation Board's idea to do that.
I think it's a really good deal myself, and I am amazed by the amount of kids that are out there, like amazed. Like I live right there,
Yeah,
and I see kids walking down the street with fishing poles. When's the last time you seen that?
yeah.
You know? So, but see me after the meeting.
Okay, I will, appreciate that. You know, you know where I sent my kids? Frederickson's Pond, and Skillman's, walking down Highway 7.
Yep,
Yeah.
or biking.
Probably not or biking, but probably not the
Back in the day, that's
safest
where
deal, you know, that, I mean, it worked, but yeah, now they got a nice place here, yeah. So, anyway, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and thanks for taking that to the ABC.
Yeah, I think that's what
a
we'll,
great place to
and I
go.
would have
Yeah.
probably had that done before, but the Lions Club didn't meet in December. And I wanted to make sure that they were, because they were obviously supportive on the initial phase, but I didn't want to take that for granted. I wanted to make sure before I applied that they were okay with it being the
So,
Lions Club on the application.
I'm not a
So
fisherman or trout any good eating.
Kirk's right.
It's, hit or miss.
Birds are better.
Depends on-
To me, I don't know,
And-
but whatever.
Just, I think all of you, but by the way, in addition to the Game and Park stocking trout twice a year, there are an established population of bluegill bass and perch.
Already in
So
there.
those have been in there since the first year it was in, so.
It's really about getting some kids getting their
Yeah,
lines
the
out.
publicity
And being able to have something bite when they've got a line.
I
So
know
if,
that right now they're biting really good because Mojo and his little buddies go out there and they fish till they get tired of catching and then they leave.
Yeah, it's good.
Good, and we've been, we do plan to have an open house, and that'll be free to the public and free to all, you know, we'll notify all the donors so they can see, you know, the recognition we'll give them with the plaques and the signs and stuff.
And we do plan to put
We
a kind
do
of
a-
a large sign
Yeah.
at the end too, kind of with your major donors, the foundation, the ABC, the county, you know, some of those that, and some of those businesses that made a lot of either labor or in-kind donations, so we'll plan on, you know, putting a fairly good sized sign out, we'll, you know, just kind of be a community fishing pond or Ainsworth Pond, whatever we will decide to.
Would be nice if we ever get some ice on there and stuff like that, to ice skate and. maybe
I
some
think
ice
people,
I was amazed
I really
initially
think
how
there'll be a
many
lot of
people
ice
want to do
skaters.
that.
That's been the thing for
Not
years.
this year.
Not this year, but yeah, I think
there
you'll see a
would
lot
be
of
some
ice
people.
skaters out there.
And I've already had people think we ought to have the county make a dirt ramp down to it, so you can come off the hill onto the ice with your sleds too. Let's not get too carried away.
Do you have to keep that open the winter to keep your fish alive?
No, it's
No.
deep enough, they'll live.
Yeah,
It's,
they should live.
Yep, it's deep enough, they'll survive winters. Short of, I mean, knock on wood, short of a bad winter that, well, the winter that killed a lot of
Right.
the sandhills, lakes around. It should do better than that, it's not as choked out and shallow. Vegetation choked out and
Great.
shallow as those others. I talked to Jade initially, but he said they didn't get many in, about maybe getting some Christmas trees, when you did your Christmas tree, depository out there at the park, to maybe lash 2 or 3 to-goes together and sink them, but I'm not sure there were many that were ever put out there, so.
Probably could find cedar trees.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah, we got- yeah, we-
it's not gonna be hard to find a few cedars
Yeah.
to lash together to do that, so. But,
Well, thanks.
Yep,
I remember growing up as a kid in Seward, that was a big deal. Me and my brother riding our bicycles down to the city pond to fish for bullheads. And of course, in a former life, I worked on a lot of city ponds, and they're always a hub of a community where just people gravitate towards them, and it's a neat project and a nice addition to our community. So, so I guess at this time, you're not requesting anything
no,
from the city
no,
right
just
now?
give you an update.
Appreciate that.
probably February, if the Lions Club's okay, I'll get and I don't know when the ABC meets next, but I'll probably have an application in front of them, and,
On the garbage, if somehow we can figure something.
yeah,
out.
hopefully we could, and yeah, that's maybe a good idea, something similar to what you do on Main Street for a receptacle. I didn't think a dumpster was the greatest idea out there, just for the fact that you're gonna get stuff in there that you don't want, that people are gonna, oh, can't take this out there, I'll go throw it in not even in the dumpster, I'll go throw it next to the city dumpster.
Yeah, there's plenty of people using dumpsters around town.
Yeah, East City
unauthorized
Park
already.
gets used some.
Yeah.
The county one right at the courthouse gets used for that too.
Yeah, I remember a dishwasher in the one next to the USDA office over there. Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Danny.
Yep.
Good project. So, moving on, we will discuss and consider ordinance number 1566, and this is something I've been talking about bringing to you to reduce the number of committees, city committees. You know, we got quite a few, and I mean, I don't want to diminish the value of input from all the different citizens, but on the other hand, it seems like sometimes you can over-committee yourself and end up with so many committees that people get tired of going to meetings and things like that. So I guess what precipitated it was last year when the legislature passed a bill that allowed cities of the second class to have the city council act as the board of adjustment. And so in the past, we couldn't do that. We had a separate board of adjustment. Just seemed to make sense to me. Since you guys already meet monthly, anything that needed to come to a board of adjustment, you could handle that at the monthly meeting, just kind of be a standing item on the agenda as needed. I really don't, I mean, is it average a couple times a year, or?
Yeah, Heather's been on the board for quite a while.
Yeah. It kind of depended on the year.
Some-
Usually, like, no more than 5 times a year, but there was usually always 1 or 2 times that we would do it.
And typical things are, I think I know, but for everybody.
Sure, yeah, the board of adjustment typically, it's more, the way structures are situated on lots.
Yeah.
And if they are maybe too close to a setback or a property line, or square footage allotments, like on a garage or a shop or something, there's certain limitations to how big those buildings can be. Another one would be like fence height.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and if you're on a corner lot, technically a street side adjoining yard is only supposed to have like a 42-inch fence, but people with dogs and stuff on a corner lot, if they've got it set back, you know, they like to have a little taller fence to keep their dogs in, and so those are the types of things that the Board of Adjustment hears, and they look at hardship. So they can't just really willy-nilly grant a variance. There has to be a hardship demonstrated as to why it's difficult for the property owner to comply. And so it's sort of a burden of proof on the applicant, to kind of plead their case as to why it's tough for them to do what they want to do with the way things are written. And then the way it is, the board makes a decision, basically they vote, and their decision is not appealable, so they either approve or deny, and that's kind of the way that goes. Not to be confused with the planning commission, that's a separate entity. And the planning
Which I
commission
always
deals
get
with zoning, and actual like uses of the property.
So anyway, that was the Board of Adjustment. As I looked at other committees, I thought that the Parks and Recreation Board, and the Committee on Housing, didn't we already, that one kind of disbanded because those funds disappeared?
Yeah, the purpose of that was sort of removed out of the city's purview, so.
So that was one we could remove from the books. And I also felt the Sellers-Barton Cabin Advisory Board could act on their own, not necessarily under the purview of the city. Now, that would, the city still owns that property where the cabin is, and so we'd still have responsibilities there. But as far as the contents and those things, I didn't know that the council needed to be involved in how that was handled or dealt with. So that's why, and I went to one of their meetings and visited with the cabin board. I've talked to several of the park board members and Board of Adjustment folks, and up until tonight, I didn't think there was any disagreement about that plan moving forward, but Kent has
Before we
received
get
some
to Sellers,
information from the
Sure.
cabin advisory board.
Before we get to that, did you get any feedback from Parks and Recreation Board?
Not really.
Okay.
And that one is one that,
It's always been difficult.
that board was set up, I don't know how many years ago, and it was in response to some funding, is that, am I remembering that right? This was before probably all of our times. And it really, I don't know if it's ever been able to function exactly like it was thought of. You know, it was one of those, it's a good idea, but it didn't quite function in the manner that it was intended. And I guess my thought is that we have monthly meetings anytime. The big deal for parks is what you're gonna budget for your parks budget. And those things can be decided in a public meeting here, and anybody can come and give input. I don't know that park board meetings were always
What was nice recently about
advertised.
recently about the parks was, you know, the pickleball courts and stuff like that, and that we did not have to do the research on that. You know, if, you know, I don't have a problem, you know, going what you're trying to do. I think it's a great idea. I just don't want it to be up to us when somebody comes up and gives us an idea what they want. Then the city office or the council has to go through and do all that research, and like what the Parks Board did on the pickleball court. Because they pretty much handled all of the research on it, which was nice for us.
All the estimates, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want all that dumped back on the city council, you know, if we can get away from that, but then still have people that are willing to research that for us.
And I think, well, you know, I don't know. I think when there's a good project and there's somebody, I mean, sitting right in front of us is a good example of
Yeah.
that. You had a ramrod who believed in this project, wanted to see it happen, and made it happen.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think-
one thing I didn't want to see.
And that's where I would see things like, if there was a big project at the park, like a pickleball, that there would be somebody who believed in it, and a member of the community wanted to see it, and would kind of, shepherd that through. And maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. That would have been my only concern about that group, not being there anymore. But like I said, that group might still be on the background, still want to say, okay, this is interesting to me.
Oh, absolutely.
And they'll still want to do stuff like that. Or, like you said, other people in the community have an interest in that and say, okay, I'll ramrod that. So,
Yeah, I had envisioned, well, maybe we could have in the spring, have a public hearing for park plans for the year. I mean, I was just brainstorming in my head at the time, and I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but we definitely want to continue to get public input and have the public involved in projects, yeah.
Well, I'm with Brad to the point, like, I don't know if I really want to, I don't know about the rest of them, but the park board, I don't really want to see that go per se right now, because when we did the pickleball court, those guys put in a lot of time. And they had a lot of useful, like I met with them once, did a lot of research, they did all kinds of stuff. And I don't know if you would find that necessarily in one individual to maybe head up and spearhead the whole project unless they had almost a title or a purpose of, yeah, I'm on the park board, so I'm gonna try to get something done.
yeah, I do know.
I feel that being on the board makes them more motivated to maybe pursue projects.
I know prior to this pickleball court project and stuff, I bet it was probably 2 to 3 years, and they never even had a single meeting. So I think that, so it was kind of a waste of having that board during those years, but then they had a project that they could go after, and they were interested in it too, and so they did.
Right, I don't know if it gets, my next thing for the park board was gonna be, I think we need to pursue and start digging into a dog park. A dog park.
Instead of football field.
Yeah, instead of football.
Football field.
Now that we got, now
There's
that
a
we
quote
got,
for your radio and newspaper.
Or the Legion field.
yeah, now that we got one done, I want to maybe push them or motivate them to do like a dog park and then maybe something else. And I mean,
Well, and part of the trap, I think, with that board is that has to start with the council. The council has to set the project and the budget and the need before really the board is probably even gonna spend the time looking into it, so. I think it's just a matter of setting capital projects and priorities, and then they have something to work on.
To shoot their way is what you're saying.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I feel like it's just been kind of the opposite.
Well, and in their defense, because we hold the purse strings sitting
Yeah.
right here,
So they
they
feel like
come with an idea and we say,
well,
well, we don't want to do this or we want to do that. So it needs to be more of a collaboration, but we do probably need to give them some guidance.
right, but the pickleball court, it was a kind of a project, I met with them, I think Kristen was there, they're like, okay, I felt as a council person, hey, either we're gonna bulldoze that thing and make it look nice and plant grass, or we're gonna fix it up. And everybody came to the conclusion of, let's try to fix it up. So then they got Kristen involved, and we started looking at different courses and different grants, and they had by the next time we met, they had all kinds of ideas. So I mean, I think if we give them a purpose and a direction, maybe, I don't know, I've only been on it and only did one project with them, so.
because you can always think of projects, it's just, do you have the funds and the ability to do the project?
Right, but
Yeah, I think
like we,
Once you set that, then there's good. focus to
I would
work on.
love to know how many hours they spent
There's a lot.
researching like getting the concrete quotes and all the quotes that they got to
Well,
get
even
started.
they put all the drawings together, they did the maps. They've got another project they started and I think we might have talked about it even on your shop, their phase two was potentially a trail, which kind of ties into what Denny was talking about too, but I see Lisa's point too, is, you know, they're really an advisory board, they were never,
I think that was their frustration,
Yeah.
because they put all the work in, and then nothing was moving, and then, you know, people were getting kind of upset, and it's like, well, you
And
gotta
as
have
a
the, you
council-
gotta have the money to do the project, you know?
And we felt sorry for them too. I mean, we felt for them because we didn't have, they thought, and they're the ones wanting us to do this, but then we turned them down because we have no money. And so,
When it comes to money, it has to come back through us.
Yeah, but the pickleball court, to me, just like the pond, it kind of proves that, you know, it can be done. It works together and works together, come up with ways to fund it. You know, I think it can be done.
And on the pickleball, to date, that's no money out of the city tax roll, is it?
Not the general funds, no.
Some out of ABC.
Actually, no, because, oh yeah, excuse me, ABC, not LBA 40, ABC.
By the way, sidebar, when are we playing pickleball?
I don't know, I've
Is
got
that-
questions,
is that
who
ready?
got sets for Christmas?
That's prepared right there.
What's our-
They're like,
I'm part of
they're
the
like,
geezer crowd now, I think I qualify for pickleball.
they asked when we're gonna have the court done and all that other stuff, and because they got
People are excited.
sets for Christmas. And I was like, oh, cool.
with the matching sweatbands.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, jeez. So, I'll interject, and I kind of second what you guys are doing. Like, first, I'm looking at these 4 committees. The housing, that's no brainer because that's gone away, that funds have. And Board of Adjustment, I do agree, Joel, it's like, that's some kind of one-off things, and that kind of fits right in the council's. That's one less committee you gotta stock. Parks and Recreation, I'd like to see that stay, just kind of, well, it hasn't been perfect, but here's my latest on the Sellers Barton, and only because somebody approached me, so I gave the board member all, and the mayor and the administrator, and if you want to have my copy, you can have it too. This came from the board, which is Cindy Buckles, Carleen Burrows, Brian Johnson, Danny Bennett, and Audrey Wilson. And you know, I'll just speak for myself. That museum sits down there, and it's just like something else. You drive by it 2 or 3 times in your life, and then you forget it's even sitting there. And Elise and the mayor are aware. We've got a real issue. And water got in there, I think, in the floods in whatever year that was, 18, 19. I'm just speaking for myself. We talked about this last year, and I went down, I don't really want this on the radio, but talking about push my hand into the logs on the old part. I mean, that's how rotten it is, and that's a log cabin. There's just no way around that. You know, you can build a new one, and in 20 years, it's gonna start to deteriorate on you too. But I guess the old part of that building, and talking to Cindy yesterday, is, I mean, the addition is just as bad, if not worse, because that's where the basement is, in that we've got water that has been in there in the past. We've got mold.
And there's been some more directive by some of that, but it's already there. I mean,
It's
there's
just-
really no way to mitigate that, and then you don't have controlled air
So,
in any of that, so that.
I don't know, you went to one of their meetings, but
Yeah.
I don't think they want to disband from.
Well, and I didn't suggest they disband. What I suggested was they could operate, and I compared it to the local archery club has
Yeah,
been
it's
in
a separate
existence for
entity.
years. They use the Game and Parks archery range, but they are a separate club that, you know, cooperates with
Right.
Game and Parks on the use of that range, and they make their own decisions, and they do all that.
But there
And
probably wouldn't
it
be.
just felt like that was a good fit for the Sellers Barton folks, because the city owns that cabin site, but we really have never been involved in any of the the items or
But if
anything
we went to
like
that route, there probably wouldn't be any tax money towards that committee.
Well, I don't know that they get any tax money now. I mean, the only
Is
tax
there?
money goes to the building.
The building and
Is there
payroll.
20,000 allocated a year towards that, or is there any?
but that for electricity and the,
I was gonna say that just as Joel said, the building is
Our
the
responsibility.
property of the city, the real estate there. It was gifted to the city. I don't actually know what year the Sellers Barton family gifted
Okay.
that. And
I asked my mother, she can't even remember. So
Yeah.
I don't know who
The-
Sellers or Barton were, seriously.
The budget there is minimal maintenance, I guess, really, to be quite honest. And then a little bit of payroll and such for people sitting in their insurance,
Who pays the
utilities.
utilities?
Does the county give a stipend for utilities
Not to the Sellers Bar
No.
and Cabin.
for the coal?
I think they give it to the Historical Society for,
Yeah. Brown
And-
County Historical Society,
Yes.
that's a different,
and most of, I guess I'm not 100% sure of all of the members, but several of the Cabin Advisory Board members are also involved with the Historical Society and the Coleman House, and so there's a little bit of overlap there.
some of my antique information that I got, maybe those were one board at one time and had a parting of the ways like many, many years ago. But anyway, regardless, like your article said, Joel, wherever happened in the past, whatever, now here's what we're sitting on. The log half of that building is deteriorating, and really the addition isn't much good either. This board had approached Lisa, and we're waiting, we gotta get a quote from a professional crew to assess what it would take to clean that, if any of that, how much of it is still salvageable. And if it is, what do we do with it?
And how much?
Because that building is probably worthless.
Yeah,
Then we gotta find a space for a lot of stuff.
because I think the initial
If it's,
estimates that I had, which was just to fix the north side a year ago. Is this, well, back when Carol Larson was alive, she had rounded up a guy from like, I think he was from Minnesota or Wisconsin, to come and re-chink all of that on the north side, and then we had gotten some funds, lodging tax had helped us out with some funds, and the guy had a tragic accident and was no longer able to come and do the work. And so since that time, I had gotten an estimate based off of photographs from a company, I think out of Missouri, that does log restoration. And the off-the-cuff estimate was like, I think $26,000 to replace like 9 logs on the north side. But that's not touching anything inside the building, that's just exterior building maintenance.
But does anybody here really think we can save that?
But there's also, actually on the south side, when I went in there to take pictures of kind of the mold items to get the quote on the cleaning, the south side actually has holes you can
Yeah,
poke your
it's-
finger through. So it's that whole western end.
it's bad.
But even if you fix that, you still have the issue of uncontrolled air, and it's only open 2 months out of the year, so, it's not a great setup.
So I guess it comes back to us, but we're gonna have to have an idea of what it's gonna cost to clean that.
Well, what is like, so is it gonna be, can you?
I'm
We'll
assuming,
build it and start over?
I'm assuming
Is that gonna
someone
be
will
a
show,
major issue?
seriously, I don't think it's probably safe for anybody even to be in there this summer.
Probably not.
Well, kinda like,
Someone's gonna have to show up in a semi-truck, probably wearing respirators, haul that stuff off somewhere, after we tell them, save this, don't save that. Well, not we. This committee's still willing to do that kind of a work. I mean, that's one thing Cindy emphasized, is, hey, we're here. But, I don't know if that's $1,000 cleaning bill or $100,000. I mean, I don't have any idea until we get a quote.
That's what we asked them for.
Yeah.
That's
I
what.
think it's gonna be a lot.
I'm
it's like what Joel was saying, though, we don't have any obligation to the inside except for our building caused the problem. Right?
I think this committee would say that that was given to the city and it's under our purview. Or at least that's what
The stuff
person-
inside?
Yeah,
The
I
items?
I don't know where that lands. I don't know if that's our responsibility or,
Can you move the location?
That's
No, like,
been
yeah,
talked
let's just
about.
say forego the cabin and then,
Yeah, you
Move it to
need to find different locations.
oh yeah,
Wow, different
if we
location,
could find a spot, I think that's, yeah, we don't wanna go back in.
At one point, they talked about, and this was years ago, when it was first having issues, and this goes back before probably any of you were on the council, I didn't predate Lisa being with the city, but they talked at one point, like the building even then maybe too expensive to try to fix to be salvageable
Yeah.
considering how old.
And I think that's just kind of how it's come to
Yep.
be.
And, but at the time, they talked about, well, they talked about, will there be a way to, whether it's like a trailer or something to where you could put some of this memorabilia, there'd be a way to walk in, and then it could be taken to like the fair or the expo or different places where people could actually be there to observe it or set it up, you know, where it could be set up during alumni or during 4th of July or during different times to where it's in a store, you know, it's basically in a trailer where it's stored and you don't have the air and water issues that you have now, but then it would be also mobile enough to where it could actually be viewed in a little more regular fashion than what it may be now. Like I said, that's over a decade ago.
And I know in talking to some of the board members too, that, you know, if you clean things and, you know, whatever, there's a lot of stuff in there, and I don't know, what I understand from them is there's really not any room in the Coleman house to store any more things.
You mean if you gave the Coleman
Like
House
if
the
you-
whole content, say would
Yeah,
have
like
room
if
for
you
it?
cleaned
No.
it and gave it to them to, so it
Yeah.
could be, like, they don't really have the room either.
I mean, do we give this board, okay, here's this much towards cleaning, and you decide what we're saving?
Probably need estimate first, wouldn't we?
Hmm?
We probably need
Right.
estimate first, yeah.
Or do we want to, as a board, like, okay, we're saving this uniform, but this antique goes, and I gotta say, I'm out on that, personally.
I would want to be designed.
Because, you know, if you got a board that's got a vested interest
Right.
in what, and then they're gonna have to come, you know, I think then they come back to us and say, okay, we've got an estimate, it's gonna cost X, and we think we need a space of X by X.
Say, will the
And then
half
they're
of the theater work?
We talked about that location.
You know, if you, I don't know how much room they need, but they, I mean, you got an empty building there.
Depends on how much stuff they can save too.
Yeah. So that's what I got,
Is that
Mr.
estimate?
Mayor, that's what was laid on at me
Still,
yesterday.
more half of the theater.
I understand.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You know, sitting there empty, it's
Yeah,
pretty
right.
much halfway wired.
right, okay.
It wouldn't take a whole lot to, I bet it'd take a lot less money just to
Get it operational.
get it operational. and
I'm a history buff, and I haven't been in there in 30 years, probably.
I was in it last year, it was nice,
But
there was nice stuff.
There's some neat stuff in there, but unless you've got somebody that wants to ramrod and, you know,
My 2 cents.
make it their love.
Whatever it's worth too, when you have items like that, you know, in the way we operate the museum, you need probably controlled air, you know, you need air conditioning.
You need a building
and-
that's heated and cooled.
If you're gonna have somebody sitting in it all year long, every day, you know, that person could kinda, you know, maintain that or whatever, but where it's shut up like it is, you need to have the, I think that's, otherwise you're, even if you clean it and move it, you're gonna have
Yeah.
issues.
And you're running the risk the way it is now, if there was somebody sitting in there that summer and they come down with a lung issue or a respiratory illness based on being in there that they didn't realize what they were inhaling and they have a reaction. Well, guess who's the first one that's gonna be on the court docket for something like that?
I'm with you, kid, I think they need to figure out how much of an area they need. Maybe
Maybe we can task the mayor to go back and visit with them and say, okay.
let's relocate maybe?
Well, I mean, that's what we talked about the day that we met with them. We talked about other locations. We talked about, we need an estimate. What, if you've got items that have deteriorated due to mold or whatever,
And
what is the cost for restoration? And, I don't know when that was.
I don't know, I had gone in and, they had tracked down a contact, cleaning person, and, in Lincoln, I believe. Anyway, I ended up, going in and taking a bunch of pictures of the interior contents, and the clothing items are obviously worse than pretty much everything else, the wool items.
But that is bad.
rough. Anyway, I took a bunch of pictures and I sent that on to that contact that does that, and he did email me back and wanted to set up a conference call, and then kind of just holidays and some illness for me and different things happened, and I just haven't gotten touch base to have that call with that guy yet, but.
So they're not really Ramon and we are.
I mean, I've been working on it.
Yeah, but I'm not just, it'd be nice if
Yeah.
they just, we'd said, hey, you go find the person, they'd report back to us, but maybe that's not what they want to do with it.
Well, I did kind of told them that probably it was all gonna boil down to cost,
Mhm.
and
And we don't have anything in the budget to cover that this year.
I'm trying to remember off the
What's
top
that?
of my head, I think we might have put 20,000 in there just because we knew some things needed to be done. So there is some money in the budget. Whether that's going to be enough to, I don't know, but that obviously isn't going to fix the building and address that.
I don't even.
The other thing you gotta be concerned on, I don't like, I should bring this up at all, you look at the people that are on that committee, and I'll say this rightly, they're not young.
Hey!
They have a lot of experience.
They're mature.
They're mature.
They're mature.
And so, 10 years from now, they won't be doing that
It'll
anymore.
have to be a new committee.
Is there gonna be younger generation coming up, or is there gonna be people that want to take that over? You don't see a lot of that, especially in smaller communities. So, we might,
That
something
might
else.
be time for a discussion on changing how the board votes, but
Yeah.
if we get to the point where we don't have
Well, I
any
think-
interest in.
I think the first step is seeing if maybe there's only a fraction of things that are salvageable. And what it's gonna cost, and then make a decision from there on where we're gonna put it. And, okay, if you people still wanna function as a committee, it's your job to ram on it.
If there's 60% of the stuff we have to throw out for Peter's mold, is it worth even putting the rest of it anyplace else? Just donate it someplace.
Yeah, ultimately, it's gonna come down to money, how much
Right.
can we, everybody likes, I think most people like history, it's really interesting, it's neat, but it costs to keep that stuff, and I don't know why, you alluded to maybe there was a parting of the waters years ago. To me, it seems like there should be one Brown County group that deals
Well,
with history.
According,
That was my take, was to get the two committees together and say, okay, how you gonna solve this?
and Long Pine as well, so.
I don't know.
Not,
And I
not,
think there is some overlap in some of
not for the paper,
people,
but according to my mother, this is being recorded. Way back in the past, that did function as one committee. I don't know if anybody can remember that far back. And there were a couple of strong-willed personalities, and pretty soon you had Sellers Barton, you had the Brown County Historical Society, and you even had Long Pine kind of doing their thing. And you're right, in a community this size, you're
Yeah.
right on, Denny, it needs to be one.
Well, they're all working for the same purpose.
It is,
We're
it is,
all
they got the
working
same
towards-
goal, and I'm not saying that in any way that, okay, Brown County Historical Society, take all this stuff, but all those people that are interested in that need to function as a unit. So,
It
we're
would seem
gonna,
to be the most efficient.
and we're gonna have to decide, oh my gosh, it's gonna take X to clean all of it, or X to clean 30% of it, we think is worth salvaging.
Where's all the Brown County Historical stuff?
Coleman House
So is
Museum.
it something that you could just simply add on?
They said they didn't come around.
No, add on.
Oh, add on,
Yeah,
like the
where
build,
you'd
like
have-
structural.
you'd have to.
Yeah, like
Or
maybe,
put another building there or something.
or go, like maybe add on, or,
Yeah.
I don't know, just to me, you're right, it's ridiculous to have.
But then you're talking some scratch for a building, as you probably know.
I'm well aware. You're gonna spend umpteen thousands of dollars on a building that's probably gonna do the exact
Oh,
same thing.
I'm not advocating any money on the building.
You know what I'm saying? So to me, you could put it together,
Right.
split some expenses and have all one thing. Never forbid everybody
I
gets
think-
along.
You kind of throw it back at those,
Too long.
we'll look into what the cleaning cost is, but those two committees like, okay, here's where we're at.
My gut tells me the estimates are gonna come back
We're
so
gonna-
high
we're gonna
that
swallow.
you guys are gonna say, yeah, won't spend that much money,
Right.
and push is gonna come to shove, and folks are gonna have to figure out how to work together.
But we need to know that before.
Right.
Nope, I agree with you, Joel, right.
I guess maybe I was getting the cart ahead of the horse.
Well-
'Cause I kind of.
So we're on the path to an estimate. It
I-
won't-
that's-
It's not gonna be long.
Yeah. And I'll take bets afterwards on an over-under and whatever it is. That's gonna be.
Was that for the paper?
I'm gonna put a line in about 27.5, and you can pick over.
It's gonna be more than that.
I'm gonna take over. Do I get odds?
Yeah, you do.
It's gonna be over
Well, then the other thing
over
that
You, you might add a zero behind the
If you go a different route, is
27.5.
you're gonna probably have some demo costs and clearing that.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right. Even if we don't do a thing on that
Adding
building,
on
we're
your
gonna have a
park
little
or
money
whatever
cleaning
you
it
end
up.
up doing with that
I'm certain.
space, but
The fire department's never burned a log cabin before, have they?
We sure try.
It might be too damp.
Cheaper to remove a tree.
I hear you putting up diesel on stuff.
Yeah, we'll sure try.
So that's what the community person came to me. There you all have the letter.
Appreciate that. yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You got sidetracked off of this.
Yeah,
Not really, but that
Well,
was
it's all
part of
been part of the discussion,
It was
for
a-
sure.
it was a little bit of a bird walk to get back to where we need to get.
So, you know, I'm not gonna move a but I'd be for, if you wanna waive the readings, I'm all for Board of Adjustment and housing going away tonight, unless you wanna wait another meeting, this gets out into the community. But,
I would second that motion on those two.
do you need to change this language before I read it, or because I'm only doing a portion thereof, you need to bring
I
it
think
back
so.
to us?
I
Yeah.
think it needs to come back.
That's
so
what
that
I
you can
figured.
see for
Okay.
sure what you're.
Yeah, I move we table it to, well, before I
Yeah,
do
we can
is.
do it next month.
it's-
There's nothing urgent
Yeah,
about it.
is that kind of, so she drafts not spending more time with the lawyer, is everybody thinking those two go away?
Yep.
Okay,
You want to table 15?
so I move that we table 1566 tonight.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Call roll.
Kent,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously, we'll sort that out and address it next month. So, that leaves us with city administrator's report. Lisa, did you do anything this month?
not really. No. Well, considering I was gone for like 2 weeks out of the month between holidays and illness, you know, December's always pretty mechanical in terms of repetitive things annually, being the end of the calendar year. There's just lots of kind of that once a year stuff with certain reports and, you know, the quarterly filings and the printing of the year and payroll stuff, so it's a busy month. Otherwise, you know, it seems like the majority of time is still in between tasks is working on the software stuff, transitions, working with the different companies, trying to make sure everything's gonna be set up, you know, the way that we need it set up. And I've had multiple meetings, you know, over the last month with the 3 different entities that we're working with, and I think we're still on track for February, so we just set up our final sort of training at the end of January, so it'll be a week-long, kind of an everyday training on how to use it before February rolls around. So that's kind of been the bulk of it, I guess. Farm lease is gonna expire at the end of February, so we'll be advertising that for bids here shortly.
Do we just do sealed bids?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. And then we do have a position advertised right now for park lead. JC's gonna move out to be caretaker of the cemeteries this year. Is the plan. So if you know anybody.
Have you had any applications yet?
I've had one or two maybe. I've had several that we've handed out. So hopefully those people will bring them back. we advertised locally. I also kicked it out to neighboring communities too. Bassett and Valentine, Spring Meeting. So hopefully we can get all those arrangements made before the spring sets in.
So you're taking that back in-house on maintenance of the cemeteries instead of contracting that like this, like.
That's the idea, yeah.
Because their contract expires this year.
Walnuffers, yep,
Or
ended
they
their,
They
didn't
want
wanna
out,
renew.
yeah. They don't
no.
want.
The original plan was we were probably gonna rebid and then had some different ideas about how to shuffle things around, so.
It's kind of a wash, dollar-wise,
Sure, but
close,
makes sense.
not exact, but.
So, we'll try something new. See how it goes.
All right, anybody questions for Lisa?
So I did tell Lisa and Joel I'm in a bad spot in my office. People must catch me. I can't see them coming. Had a community member tell me, and I have verified it, that 97, boy, Kim. How about we try 2027? They're doing Highway 20 on both sides. Is that, I don't know. The state is gonna do it. So if the asphalt plant is here, this person suggested it's a great time that we do our share of Old Seven. And we talked about streets, so if that, I'd just lay that before all of us. And
I think it'd be a good idea, but it'll be a lot cheaper, but can we still afford it?
right, but at least we gotta look into it if
Yeah,
NDOT is gonna do a project. And I don't know, Lisa, when you do things like that, can you, let's say we said we wanted to do it, can NDOT, when they're advertising for bids, say, and hey, the city's like, gonna have this other little bid that's there too, so contractors know?
I would think
Or do you
in
approach
terms
them
of
afterwards?
material, they would probably need to know that unless for some reason they had leftover or extra,
Right.
and then it was like they were just trying to use
So we'd
something
wanna,
extra.
we'd kinda want
Probably need to,
them included.
if you wanted to do that, and if, that all worked out the way, we would probably wanna have that coordinated.
Well, if it's coming then, and that would not be a curb and gutter assessment like it is with other projects that we've done for streets in town, so.
You wouldn't wanna go concrete?
That was what I was gonna ask, because it's, when we look, or whatever, the Main
whatever we
Street
do,
project,
okay.
concrete was
Going
about
north was
6%.
cheaper.
Yeah,
That's a good point. My point is, it wouldn't be we're gonna do a voter driven like we've talked about on other streets, getting so much linear footage, because that's just kind of basically our thoroughfare. Yeah, you're right. If we look at the costs and say concrete's a better option, then we need to do that, but if we wanna do asphalt, it could be coming around in 27.
And the concrete was cheaper in that case, but then you're talking about, well, the plant's gonna be here, so maybe it'd be cheaper.
Right. Right.
And we took an inch off and put 3 back. So we actually added 2 inches to it just for the truck traffic.
Oh, yeah,
And so far, it's holding up pretty well.
it's way different than when they designed her,
Yeah.
what, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
I drove that for the first time Saturday night, we went up to Springview.
But
I
that's-
was worried it was gonna be icy coming home, we took that, that's the first time I've been on board.
That's what's coming,
It's
maybe,
smooth.
Boy, it's
I guess,
That's a good thought.
yell at,
I can reach out
one of you
tomorrow.
yell at Kovar, and that's our first starting point, and then we're talking budget, and then the engineering.
Yeah, I can visit with him.
Right, because like Jess could say, okay, yeah, you want to do that, and it's X, or it's Uber X.
Any word on the speed signs?
Well, I thought you would ask about the money from the state.
No. I'll leave that up to you.
No, I told you I wasn't gonna
I was waiting for it, so I can once again be like,
No,
yeah,
I'll leave that up to you.
like a broken record.
Maybe that'll come in, and we can use that for whole 7.
That would be nice. I met with Tracy a while back, gosh, it was maybe right before Thanksgiving. And we talked about everything, and she was gonna send me over her stuff, because apparently I need to reapply for the DOT permits, in the city's name, and so I.
Really?
Which I guess probably kind of makes sense in hindsight. Anyway, she was gonna send me the information, and I think she forgot maybe, and I need to follow up with her. So no, she has the signs though.
I thought
She
maybe we
told
was waiting till spring, not to work.
Well, it would make sense
Right.
to put them up in the spring, but I think she has them. It's just cleaning up the paperwork.
It feels like it.
And then I think she said she was getting some training on them. I think Kenny Turpin maybe is getting some
Yeah.
training. And I asked her if she would, if Jade wasn't able to attend the initial trainings, if she would train him, just so that the city then is also cognizant of how to work those things. So,
Are they pretty idiot proof when she set them up, or is there a lot of work?
you would think so, but I know that.
Unless somebody hits them.
I know that
Yeah,
the portable one that we had was pretty finicky, you know, in terms of how you set it.
All right, hearing nothing else, I think. We'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:10. Thanks, everybody.
Chair's break.
I didn't hear that crap.
Are you back?